And we'll get going. So hi, everyone, and welcome to an epic networking event. My name is Allison Schneider, and I'm the Education and Training Coordinator at AgeWell. This session is part of the 10-day virtual AgeWell Epic Conference, which is dedicated to creating a space for AgeWell students, postdoctoral fellows, research staff, and early career researchers to share their research, highlight their potential impact and stakeholder partnerships, and connect with colleagues. So to that end, we're thrilled that you are making connections here with us today. We hope that you'll take this opportunity to practice clearly communicating about your strengths and skills, build confidence when talking about yourself, learn how to ask questions to connect and include others, and make at least 2 connections to follow up with post-session. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Jennifer Polk, who is a career coach and educator from PhD to Life fame. We are delighted to have her back with us at the EPIC conference again this year. So over to Jen to lead the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allison. And thanks to everyone at AgeWell for having me. Sam, pointing at you. And thank you to our facilitators and all the folks that are joining us today. I'm going to assume that everything is fine unless you tell me otherwise in the chat or just unmute and yell at me. So just let me know. Okay, let me bring up my slides. I'm going to share the slides. So you should see making connections in a red background there. And let me go to my next slide. So now you should see a slide saying open the Google Doc, and let me put the link to that in the chat. I think our facilitators might already have this link. Okay, there you go. So you can take a few seconds to, if your technology allows, if you're on a computer with a big enough screen, you can open the Google Doc. Let me go back and see if I can find my Zoom peoples. You can get oriented there. You have editing access to this document. So anything that you type in the doc, we will all see it, but we won't know that it's you typing it unless you tell us, like, you know, this is Jen writing this. Well, you might be able to know that it's me because I'm the one who created the document, but otherwise it will be completely anonymous. So feel free to sign in on the document. At the very top of the doc, after the bits about my name and the date and stuff, is a table of contents, and those are hyperlinked to different sections. So if you're ever not sure where we're at, just scroll to the top and you can click on one of those hyperlinks. Everybody cool? I seem to not be able to see anybody in Zoom anymore. So, okay. I will pretend that we're cool. Yeah, so you can get oriented on the doc and sign in. Let me go to the next doc. Yeah, Allison introduced me already. My website is from PhDToLife.com. The short version of what I do is that I help PhDs get clear on their career path so they can confidently market themselves for jobs they actually want. What we're going to talk about today, this language is all in the doc. Practice clearly communicating about some of your strengths and skills, develop confidence talking about yourself, learn how to ask questions to connect with others who share your interests, and ideally, we're a small group today, but make a couple of connections to follow up with after the event. Let's talk briefly about strategic networking. And in the context of this session right now, what that means is how to make the most of networking events. And to break it down, being strategic means, you know, making it simple here, determine your goal for an event, right? A networking event. What's your goal? Develop a plan. That's number 2. And then to implement, right? Take action on that plan. But it's good to be flexible because it's a live event happening in real time and you never know what's going to happen. So I would like to ask you folks, and you can write answers to this in the Google Doc if you like, what do you want to get out of this event? What will make it a success for you? Different questions, but getting at the same thing. All right, so I'm going to flip over to the Google Doc and see if anybody is typing responses there. So the first highlighted question under strategic networking, what do you want to get out of this networking event. And I'm looking at the clock here, as I want to make sure to keep to time. So you can feel free to answer that question. And then I'm going to assume, right, but let me just give you a goal, right? It might not be yours, but let's assume that you're here to make a couple of meaningful connections, which great goal, right? Let's define what that means. So 2 questions related to that assumed goal. Okay, so what makes someone a meaningful connection for you now, right? Like you want to make sure that you're actually clear about what your goal is. And then given your goal, what do you want to let others know about you? So that was 2 more questions there. Let me slip over to the Google Doc. How we doing? Cool. So folks are typing answers in the Google Doc. Awesome to learn more, enjoying my time. Awesome. Connect with others with a common interest. Great. Great. And if you have any answers to the next 2 prompts, you can respond to those too. And by the way, if there's anything I want you to see in the Google Docs that's like really important, I'll flag it for you so you can come back to the Zoom room, because I know it can be kind of confusing to go back and forth. My slides are pretty, but I don't think there's anything really crucial on them. Now, what's going to happen next is you will develop an introduction script, and the facilitators are going to explain what to do once you enter your rooms. So we still got a few more minutes before that happens, but just, heads up, that's what's going to happen. All right. So I'm going to look back at the Google Doc here. So great responses to the first question. What do you want to get out of this networking event? And then the second question is, what makes someone a meaningful connection for you now? Has a genuine interest in your work? Okay. Yep. So I guess my work for the person writing, if you're aligned in terms of life or career goals, sure. Comments about personality, okay. And if you prefer to speak out loud because you don't have access to the Google Doc, or it's just easier for you this way, you can also come off mute and tell us. And then the third question in the strategic networking section in the Google Doc is, given your goal for this event, which you thought about for the first question, what do you want to let others know about you, right? So what do you want to tell other people? What's the information that you want to have about you? Here's a response. I'm working on a digital platform to help people age well. I'm looking to understand who is doing parallel work in Canada. Yeah, awesome. I want to let people know my work interests, that I live in Toronto. Okay. Okay. So you could think about the things you might want to share with people are specific career goals, for example. It might be important for you to share the type of work environment that you want to be in. You might want to share where you want to live in future, right? If it's not where you're living currently. So you might want to make connections of people in those locations. There could be lots of different kinds of information that you want to share. All this making sense so far? Oh, there you are. Okay, we'll share about projects I'm working on. Great. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so as I've already said, now that you've got these thoughts swirling around your mind in terms of why you're here and who you want to meet, right? What would make someone meaningful for you, and what's the information that you would want to share with others? The next exercise will be right, to develop a quick script, I'm calling it, an introduction that you're going to share with other people. And that's what's going to happen next. And since it might take a few seconds, why don't we start to open the breakout rooms now? This is our debrief. We're going to debrief the rooms. 2 questions for you in the Google Doc. Same Google Doc as before. What was most helpful to you about doing the introduction exercise, assuming you did it? We were small rooms today. And then the second question after that is, what do you feel you need? What do you need to work on next to feel confident with intros? Or if you like, just tell us out loud. So this is in debrief, in that section of the Google Doc. What was most helpful to you? And you can probably tell that's a leading question. The assumption in that question is that it was helpful. So if it wasn't, too bad. Okay, so I'm looking at the Google Doc now. Folks responding to what was most helpful to you about doing the introduction exercise. Hearing examples of other introductions. Yes, gold star. That is what I hoped for, among other things. That would give you kind of a welcoming space, like a chill space to practice and hear others, opportunity to practice different versions. Great. Yeah. And I think it was really a bonus, I think, for those of you that came today, that there was time, right, to practice some different versions. A comment about liking the formula, the scripts that I provided. Awesome. I made those up. So, if you don't like them, that's totally fine too. And you can add another bullet point anytime you want to add something more in the doc. So some suggestions about what to say and not to say. Let me scroll down to the second question here. What do you need to work on next? My hook, cool. Keep in mind my goal, but also being open for other opportunities that might open up. Yeah. Creating a list of strengths. Yes, I think that is a great next step. And I don't have this in the slides, but if you're listening to me talk, let me suggest, in addition to all of the resources that I'm sure, you're getting from your institutions or from AgeWell, Sam or Allison have passed on to you. One of the tools that I really like using is called the VIA survey. VIA, like the train, but actually in this context, VIA stands for values in action. So you can Google that VIA survey, values in action. And there's a free kind of test thing that you can do online. You have to give your email address like everywhere on the internet, but it's a free, it'll take 10 minutes. It'll give you a list of strengths, a ranked list. And these are strengths that are quite different from the usual strength list that you might have seen before. Okay, let me go back to my slide deck. Click next. So now the last thing that would be great, if you're feeling okay about the scripts, the introduction you developed, you can copy and paste that right into the table. There's a table in the Google Doc that's right under in networking introductions. You can just plop your intro there. And the point is that other people can go back to this doc after the event, read the intros, and if they do want to connect with you, even if you didn't meet in a room, that gives them an opportunity to do that. Anyone have any comments they want to share about the room experience? You can speak out loud if you prefer. Cool, I'm seeing more comments on the doc. All right. Now, before the next rooms open, remember the goal that you set yourself at the start of this workshop, right? So whatever you reflected on was your goal for the workshop, or if it's changed subsequently, remember, keep that goal in mind, and then use the next 2 shorter breakout sessions to try and get what you're here for, right? You know, to put it in those terms. So this is the being strategic part of all of this. Okay, I'm eating up time. We're ready for the second breakout room. And there are some comments in the Google Doc under breakout rooms 2 and 3. You can go ahead and introduce yourself again, and then use the rest of the time in that breakout room to practice asking open-ended questions, you know, if that will help you. There's some more language in the doc. Cool. People are coming back. Awesome. Okay.
I think everybody's back now.
Great. Thanks, folks, for your patience. And I apologize for my not knowing what was going on a few minutes ago. Okay, last thing to do, back in the Google Doc. Same Google Doc as before. The last question for your response is, what will you do next to make meaningful connections with folks who participated today? Who will you reach out to for more conversation? You know, if you think that is helpful, relevant, fun. Right. So someone's typing in the doc. I should have asked for email addresses. So one thing that you can do is in the sign in section of the Google Doc. That's right at the top. That is your opportunity to type in contact info. So I did that for a reason. Then the other place where you can share contact info is if you click to networking introductions, that section of the Google Doc, and that's where you can drop your script, your intro, those couple of sentences, so folks can learn more about you. And that is my last slide in my presentation. So if you're back in the Zoom room with us, you can see that last slide. Reminder to add your intro to the table. That's the one I just mentioned under networking introductions, and you can use it to find other folks to connect with afterwards. Let me give it a few seconds. So I definitely recommend thinking about your next steps, because that's the last thing you want to do when you leave a networking event is make a plan for what you're going to do next, because your work is not done yet, right? Thanks very much for your participation today, folks. Also on the Google Doc, right underneath all of this stuff, you can give us any feedback, totally optional, of course. Let me stop my share and stop talking and turn it over to you, Allison, or you can close us off. Thanks, folks.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really thankful that we had such a lovely group today. It was really great to chat with those of you that I had a chance to chat with. So on behalf of AgeWell, I'd like to thank our host, Dr. Jennifer Polk from PhD Life, and our HQP Advisory Committee members who volunteered their time to host our breakout rooms for this session. So really appreciate that. Thanks again for your participation today. We're so lucky to host such a great community at our EPIC conference. And I hope you're able to make some real connections. You have those emails now, and I hope that you'll be able to reach out and foster those connections in the real world. So I just want to remind everyone, don't forget to register for our free EPIC conference sessions. We have in 30 minutes a AgeWell Policy Innovation Hub hosted event, APTA's, our Policy Innovation Hub, entitled Bridging the Gap, Engaging in the Policy Space as a Health Researcher, and that starts at 1:30 p.m. ET. Don't forget that we have challenge area presentations continuing next week on Monday to Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. ET. Our French partners, if you're a French language speaker, are hosting sessions on June 7th and 9th as well from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. Next Friday, June 10th, our McMaster Mira partner is hosting the panel Bridging the Digital Divide, Equity in Aging, Health and Technology, and that will be followed by our STAR Institute panel on Get Published. So we'll have some experts there telling you your strategies and ways to get published if you're in the academic field. So I encourage you to check out the AgeWell EPIC Conference webpage for additional details. I put that in the chat. So thanks again for attending today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I really look forward to seeing you at EPIC conference sessions and in general. So thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah.